Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. My name is Sneaky Snake and today I'm going to be going over SWC cheating in military orders. Um, Kind of a silly goose, I forgot to talk about this in my very large military orders overview, but it's a very important part of the faction. So yeah, just wanted to go over it now. So let's get into it. So what is SWC cheating? This is when you get a gun that is functionally the same as another one for either a lower price or SWC. Some great examples of kind of cheating weapons would be like a Thunderbolt, a multi-marksman rifle, and then like even lieutenants who give you discounted SWC options. Those are good examples of guys that allow you to SWC cheat. Um, this is just really helpful because it allows you to fit more SWC into a list, a lot more than you otherwise would be able to. And I'll kind of get into lists later on, but yeah, it just really helps you be able to bring a lot more capability than you might otherwise be able to in a different army. So let's just do some maths really quick because I think it's kind of important to take note of this. So on the left here, I have a BS-14 Arm 4 gunfighter in cover. And then on the right-hand side, I have a BS-14 Arm 4 Spitfire in cover. And they're both fighting like an orc flarebox kind of as like a quote unquote standard gun that might be fighting. So as you can see, um, these weapons are kind of functionally the same. So I really like to measure stuff by wounds per order, um, and then also like how many wounds per order your reactive opponent is going to be on. So as you can see, like, in terms of a face to face, you are 4%, 5% less likely to actually win that face to face, which is not terrible. And then as far as like wounds per order, you're looking at a 0.6% chance more for the Spitfire to do a wound. Um, and then the reactive player is on a 0.3% chance more to wound you if you're using the MMR. So yeah, like as you can see, the difference is really not that big. It's I mean it is there, but it's not that much. And so you might be asking yourself like, why are you showing me this? Like, what's the importance of this? Well, the importance is that you need to see that a lot of guns in the game are kind of priced lower and cost less SWC than other ones. But like, functionally, they're really not that much worse. Um, Losing one burst between an MMR and a Spitfire, it's really not that much cost. And a lot of times, what you will gain is like, a couple of points in 1.5 SWC, which is just really important because a lot of times there's other things that you need to be spending SWC on, especially with military orders leaning a lot more into hacking these days. You need to reserve your SWC for hackers or for mine layer deployable repeaters. So being able to kind of like take a slightly worse weapon, like very slightly, but to be able to have essentially the same capability is very important. So let's get into some of our SWC cheating profiles. So first we're going to go over ones that actually save SWC on the profile itself. So, just to clarify what this example is, like if you look at the Crozier multi-sniper, he only costs 1 SWC when normally a sniper is priced at 1.5 SWC. And there are kind of a fair amount, as you can see, profiles within MO that save you a little bit of SWC when you purchase them. So for Croziers, it's either the MSR, the sniper, sorry, I just said that, the Spitfire or the HMG. Each of these are 1.5 SWC weapons that are priced at only one SWC, which is really nice because, you know, like when normally you would only be able to buy one Spitfire, now you can buy a Spitfire and a Order Sergeant Hacker, right? And so it's like you're saving that zero point 0.5 SWC, which might not seem that important, but in the grand scheme of things, it's actually allowing you to take a lot more capability. Um, DeFerson is another example. He provides you with a Spitfire and a hacking device in one package for only 1.5 SWC. So you're kind of saving 0.5 SWC whenever you buy the Spitfire version. Excuse me. Um, the motorized Knight of Montesa Red Fury, another example. He's saving you zero point 0.5 SWC. The Knight of the Holy Sepulchre, another example. He's saving you another zero point 0.5 SWC. Starting to notice a trend here. And then Joan of Arc is the exact same, the Spitty version that is. She's saving you zero point 0.5 SWC on her Spitfire. Only if you're taking the LT version though. The normal, her non-LT version, she is paying the full price. And then finally, we have the United Santiago Lieutenant. And this is going to be your biggest SWC saver because he is a Spitfire that cost 0 SWC, which actually is kind of big because, you know, as we kind of were talking about earlier, multi-marksman rifles are very similar to Spitfires, but Spitfires are generally just better. Um, and so when you can take a Spitfire for essentially the same cost as a multi-marksman rifle, that's kind of nice. And so that's why the Knight of Santiago LT is one of my favorite pieces, is because he gives you a 1.5 SWC weapon for free. I mean, obviously you have to pay the price of the profile, but yeah, it's a very, very nice piece of kit. So our next SWC cheating weapons are kind of profiles with off-brand weapons. That's kind of the title I've used. So it's gonna be like your Spitfires or like HMGs at home. Um, like a good example is the Blackfire Thunderbolt, right? So a Thunderbolt plus one burst is basically the same thing as HMG. I mean, it's slightly worse, obviously, because it's -1 damage and -1 burst. Very similar to a multi-marksman rifle. But as we saw, really, at the end of the day, it's not that much different in terms of like lethality, and you're saving yourself an entire SWC, sorry, an entire SWC and a half in a faction that kind of wants to be saving SWC, um, because it's Pano. um, so in terms of other options, right, we've got the Knight of the Holy Sepulchre with his +1 burst multi marksman rifle that also has SR -1. So this thing is literally the exact same as a Spitfire, plus yeah, an AP Spitfire. Like it's literally the exact same. Except the only difference is it costs 0 SWC, and it's probably cheaper, honestly. Um, and then for Kyle Hawkins, right? He's got a multi marksman rifle. There's no +1 damage, so it's a little bit worse than your other multi marksman rifles, but it is it's 0 SWC and he's pretty cheap for his price point, tbh. Especially because he has BS Attackmeister. And then you've got the United Justice, who I love, and he has the multi-marksman rifle versions on the Hacker and the Forward Observer. Either way, you're saving yourself an entire 1.5 SWC because this thing is honestly very similar to a Spitfire. Obviously, -1 burst, but providing essentially the same gunfighting capability. And then you have the Crux, who is even, in my opinion, he's even better than an AP Spitfire because he's sitting at PS5, and then he's also giving you +1 SD, which, admittedly is worse in active turn, but in reactive turn, it's way better because you're going to be burst 3 on reaction, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, so this is another example of a weapon that is quote unquote Spitfire levels of firepower, but you're not paying any SWC for it. So yeah, these are just great examples of like how you can kind of skimp out on SWC and then be able to afford actually a lot more than you should be able to. So then I'm just going to share two lists that I made. Both of them are saving you 3 SWC. So the one on the left, um, you have got your Knight of Justice multi-marksman rifle, who is saving you essentially 1.5 SWC because he's providing essentially a hacker and a Spitfire in one package, but he's not paying for that 1.5 SWC for the Spitfire. So yeah, really nice piece. Um, then the Knights of Santiago, the Spitfire LT option, as I said earlier, he's saving you an entire SWC because he's not. Yeah, he's a lieutenant and he doesn't cost that. The MSR Crusader is saving you 0.5. Um, and yeah, and then that's allowing you to take 2 Trinitarian snipers, which honestly you wouldn't be able to if you weren't saving that much SWC, but you are. So yeah, a really nice example of like how you can use the SWC saving to your advantage. On the right hand side, we've got another example of multi marksman rifles coming in for the clutch. So Hawkins, right, and the Knight of Justice hacker, they're both rocking some multi marksman rifles, and they're both acting as pointmen, but they're not costing any SWC, which is really nice. And this is kind of unique, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, to the multi marksman rifle. I'm hard pressed to think of other examples besides maybe Thunderbolts. Well, yeah, no, because Thunderbolts are, yeah, like it's hard to really. I don't think there is another example of a weapon that's quite the same as a multi-marksman rifle, or just a marksman rifle in general, right? Where it's like you're getting that burst three, which is kind of the difference between burst two and burst three is pretty large, and so you're hitting that burst three threshold, while also being able to shoot out to 24 inches. There's not really an HMG equivalent outside of a Thunderbolt +1 burst. Um, so yeah. Anyway, very unique type of weapon. Anyway, moving on. The Crusader multi sniper is saving you another zero point 0.5 SWC, and this is allowing you to take a clipper, who you can use to GML people, and then you're also able to take an extra order sergeant hacker, which is just providing you with more hacking capability. So in both of these examples, you know, it's kind of hyperbolized. Like I'm not sure that these are necessarily like amazing lists, but the whole point is kind of to showcase that you can save a crap ton of SWC in military orders, and it just really allows you to take a lot more capability than you otherwise maybe would. I mean, just think of other factions, right? A lot of other factions aren't able to. Oh, dude, Mark 12s. Duh. I can't believe I forgot about Mark 12s. That's a great example of an SWC cheating weapon. Sorry. Random thought. Anyway, so yeah, but like you look at a lot of other factions, um, they're not really going to be able to afford, one, two duos that both have point men who can shoot out to 24 inches on burst three with +1 SWC, while also being able to afford a multi sniper rifle Crusader, or like, their faction's equivalent, while also taking 2 hackers, while also taking 2 deployable repeater mine layers, while also being able to take a clipper. Like it's kind of just you're really able to stack a lot of different tools and capability in a list when you're not having to pay for SWC on your main gunfighters. The same thing is true in the list on the left. It's like the exact same type of case where you're just really able to take a lot more capability because you're not having to pay that SWC for your point men. Yeah, and so I kind of just was talking about this, but this is why SWC matters. It's like specifically being able to take a lot more, um, I guess, like pseudo SWC in your list than other factions. It's relatively unique to MO. There's not a lot of factions that have as many multi-marksman rifle options as military orders. Um, Especially good, like the amount of good options that military orders has. You can, as I was saying, just generate tons of SWC value out of being able to just, you know, take a multi-marksman rifle instead of a Spitfire. Um, yeah, and this just gives your like list a lot of flexibility. Um, it doesn't have to be you saving, 3 SWC. It could be you just saving like zero point 0.5 SWC. But regardless of how much you're actually saving, um, even the fact that you are saving any sort of SWC is very important because it's automatically just allowing you to bring more capability than you otherwise would be. And the difference, right, is that um, it doesn't matter if you're saving 3 SWC or if you're saving just zero point 0.5. In either case, you're allowed to take one more hacker than some other faction might be able to. And so that's really big because it's just allowing you to take a lot more tools and a lot more like active units than other factions. So I kind of yapped a lot for this one, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this kind of was helpful. This is kind of more of like a theoretical type video where we're just thinking about the different unique aspects of military orders. Um, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know if you like these types of videos in the comment section. But that's all I've got for you today. So have a good day. Bye.